Why are you here today?
We're here today to try and let the government see that we need to change the Carers Allowance, which is £53.10 a week, and it's going to rise to a whopping 80p in April. And really we want the government to realise that this Carers Allowance is mean tested, and if you're a student or a working carer or a pensioner carer, you don't receive this benefit. And carers are basically living in poverty, and we formed the Carers Poverty Alliance to bring awareness to carers for carers' rights.
I mean, what I'm able to do as a Member of Parliament is arrange for the petition to be handed in at 10 Downing Street, and we've got a meeting in Parliament in about 3/4 of an hour where MPs from all different parties will be coming along to meet their constituents who have come on this protest today. So it's an opportunity not just to raise it with the Prime Minister, but to raise these issues with individual MPs. And I think it's very useful to have for people to have the opportunity to protest, but also to raise that protest directly in the House of Commons itself.
Okay. How do you think carers are currently treated by the government?
I think the government, we're in a recession. It's difficult to say. You know, I'm not privy really to that information. All I can do each year is protest and get as many carers down to London, and hopefully that one day there will be the money in the budget for us, and we have to be recognised at some point or another, because the carers are living in poverty, and it's as simple as that.
I mean, over the years, the support for carers in many ways has got better, but that's from a very low base in the first place. And I think carers find it more difficult than many other groups to actually get their voices heard, because they're spending most of their time caring for their family members, and that takes all their time and energy. And protests like this does at least give an opportunity for their case to be heard, and it will mean in the future that when decisions have got to be made by government, there is a better chance of the government providing more resources to help carers do the job that, if they weren't doing it, would cost the taxpayer a huge amount of money if they were having to pay people to come and do that caring work.
Do you think that carers are often overlooked by society?
Oh, they are overlooked. They're just a group that I don't think many people realise what a carer's life is. When I started my caring role, my husband took ill. I couldn't get a diagnosis. We didn't know what the problem was. I didn't know where to go. And I'm still fighting now, and it's 3 years down the line. And even though I know, like David and people like that, you still can't sort of find the information. It's still not out there. It's supposed to be in hospitals and doctors' surgeries. Now it's not. So when you start a caring role, you're so isolated that you just don't know where to turn. And then when you finally get this allowance, which is not explained properly, you find that if your husband's on a pension, it's overlapping. So it just creates havoc, because it's usually they give you the carers allowance and then your husband's pension stopped. Like my husband's pension was stopped for 4 months. We had to sort it out because it was just stopped, and that was it.
Okay. So in regards to like the carers allowance, okay, even though you're claiming it, if you're in a couple and your husband is receiving a pension, you're not entitled to it.
You're not entitled to it if you're claiming incapacity support or any kind of benefits, is it?
Well, the rules are very complicated with all the benefits, and sometimes if you claim one benefit, you lose another one, and there's also something that are means tested, and the way all this fits together is very difficult to unravel. And even though changes can be made every year, often which make things a bit better, often people will be on one allowance or one benefit, and then find something changes in their lives and they lose it, and it's difficult to understand why they lose that particular benefit. I think what we need to do is gradually work to making it a clearer and simpler system for people to understand. But carers are in many ways invisible, because they do spend so much time at home caring for their loved one, and that means they have very little time to actually engage in the wider political debate. And I am increasingly coming across people who very rarely get out because they are caring for someone, and apart from going to the shops and paying bills, they do tend to get housebound, which is, you know, they're not socialising in a way, so that's an issue as well. So there's a whole range of issues for carers, and I think it's a hidden army of people working hard for their families that most people don't recognise is going on.
In which ways do you think awareness can be increased?
By doing what I'm doing very badly, I'll be honest. I'm not one for the cameras. I don't like to speak, but nobody else would do it. So I do it, and everybody has to put up with me. And fortunately, I've got a very good MP and a very good MP staff at Preston who have helped me over the last 2 years. And we will continue to do it, whether they like my face and they like my voice. I will continue to fight for carers, and we'll be here next year and the year after until the government realise they have to do something for us, because I've left friends at home who would love to be here today, and their husbands' wives are actually dying, and they get no support whatsoever, and they don't get any carers allowance whatsoever, and they're still fighting while they're watching a loved one die. And I just think I've got to do it, even though, as I've said, I'm not one for doing it.
Yeah. I think the best thing that carers can do is, if they can find a bit of time to make an appointment to see their own Member of Parliament and go and see them in the constituency. They don't need necessarily to come down to London, but actually just spend 10 or 15 minutes explaining to their own MP what problems they've got and what changes need to take place. That will probably have a huge effect on what happens down here in Parliament, because MPs do respond to constituents coming to see them and explaining problems. And carers can find a couple of hours just to make that journey, spend 15 minutes speaking to their MP. And if everybody did that, you would see a huge change taking place.
I have to say, David, not everybody's like you.
But, okay, so how would you get that message across then, like what you're saying about speaking to an MP? Because many people obviously don't realise that would make a great help.
Well, I always believe if they can't speak to their MP, I know a lot of people say email and ring, and it isn't very good, but if they can't do anything else, I don't mean badger them to death, but I think if they could send an email once a month with the same thing on each time, the MP eventually will read the message, and nearly all MPs have to respond anyway to an email, don't they?
Yeah, the face-to-face meetings have a huge effect on Members of Parliament, and I always said, whatever the issue is, if you want this issue to be registered with your Member of Parliament, you could find the time to make an appointment to see him or her. That's the best way to do it.
Okay, what additional factors are needed for carers to function better?
Well, basically just more money, and so they don't have the worry of where they're going to. Well, it's sort of a balance act. Do I buy a loaf of bread? Do I pay my gas bill? Do I pay my electric bill? They can't afford any of these things, and with everything going up, and in a recession as well, to get up every day and wonder how on earth you're going to manage, and then watch a loved one who's really ill, I really don't know how they're going to cope. The only thing we can do is, like I said, is bring awareness, which is what we're doing.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you.